Hey everyone, it's now early May 2025. The trees are just starting to bud, and we've been at this location before. This has been a problem with beavers for a long time. We've been probably out on these roads going on season 6. So, we've always had beaver problems here. They were relocated 2 years. No beaver issues. Last year the beaver issues returned, and I'm willing to bet the beaver issues are still here. Look, there's no water flowing here. But yet over here, water levels are elevated. We have some sort of beaver issue, I'm betting. Not a huge one, but definitely something. I've seen this much deeper. And I'm kind of surprised with the amount of rain we've been getting that it's not a lot worse. But we've already got the big high boots on. Let's step into the water. This pond is notorious for leeches. And this is also not a secondary beaver pond. It once was. It is no longer. The beavers that plug this pipe actually live down there. That's why you see water backing up a little bit, but that's not affecting the road. If they would just stay down there, road crews would have zero issue with them. But beavers like to have secondary water storage, which is up here. And last year when we were starting to get into a drought, they were actually stopping water from going down to their pond. Where they live was actually really far below capacity. But yet they had a full pond where they don't even live. So the beaver doesn't always think that through. There's a blockage. It's towards the other end, and it doesn't look severe. But it'll be a little bit of a workout. That's a back-breaking workspace, but we'll get it. We'll get it going. We're gonna probably use magnetic tripods. We'll put a regular camera probably up here, honestly, looking down here, showing this flooding. And I'll have camera number 2 with a magnetic tripod right here in the end, with maybe a camera light looking at me. So we just got to get some of those big sticks out of here. Then the back side of that should be mostly mud. So we should be able to get this thing flowing pretty nice. We should be able to get this thing flooded. And the downstream beaver pond actually looks like it's at capacity. I'm sure they'll love to have this extra water, but they'll be back up here. They'll be back up here all right to clog this up once again. No, we'll be in this area for a couple of days, so maybe we could put a build back camera in here. But it's not a secondary pond, so there's no guarantee they're going to show up in a couple of days or even a week. Now, in the other direction from where I just parked, we have another section of beaver swamp, which is associated with the same pond. It backs up, it comes over here. Beavers used to clog this up. They were relocated. The new beavers that have showed up have never messed with this spot. This is usually where we'd start walking in to see the gigantic, massive beaver dam holding up the massive amount of water downstream, not affecting anything. So this little bit of water you're seeing here is getting diverted from that blockage we're going to remove. It kind of diverts over here. So if they don't clog this and it doesn't rain severely, it probably wouldn't even cause an issue. Already got the big high boots. Let's get the magnetic tripod for camera number 2. All right, everyone, camera number 2 is going. All right, I don't have any concern of anyone messing with camera 2 while we're in there. That's actually the only vehicle we've seen all day. Not many people out on these roads right now. It's not tourist season yet. So you'll get to see this blast on camera 2. We got a big light. We broke 25% of our raking capacity this morning, so we'll have to deal with that for the next couple of days. Let's flip you around, stick you to the top of the pipe. Got a good angle. Here we go with the camera light. Let's stick that in here. That will turn red if the battery starts to get low, if you see that happen. But let's get to it. We got to get all those sticks out of here first. weaken the dam. Oh, this isn't so bad. I can sit in here for a bit and just hope we create enough current to get this stuff out. Not gonna lie, my back hurts from the one I did this morning because I was just pulling so hard on some of the debris. Like, see, some of this stuff it takes a lot to get it out. Oh, beavers really did it on this one. We gotta go all the way out with this one. It's so big. I don't think any water pressure is gonna get that out. Oh, wow! That thing is huge! And we have sprung a leak! The more effort we make right now, the easier it'll be when we start dismantling it. Get rid of as much reinforcement as I can. Oh, this stuff goes in there deep, actually. Those beavers! I can tell this is a brand new beaver dam. Brand new beaver dam. Look at these things, how bright they are. All right, let's try to get some flow. Oh, these beavers. It's amazing how much they can lift. Oh no, there's more of it. They always build back better. So annoying. They don't know what I'm doing. They think it failed, so they always make it better. Multiple layers of reinforcement. I've never seen that before. And if we let the water in here, we're just going to make the job harder because I won't be able to see what I'm grabbing. So I got to get what I can out of here first. And now we got to hope we got enough power to push this out of here. 'Cause that's it. Oh, there's more of it. Oh! Oh, there's mud all over me. Oh, those beavers. Oh. 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 It smells like dead fish in here. Oh, the whole thing is moving! Come on! Oh, there's a leech on me! Come on out. I can't turn the rink around. Oh, these beavers. Come on. Woo. This is going to be a fun one. Let's move camera 2 so you can get a better view of this. Look at all that right there.
There we go. Come on, don't stop, keep going. There we go. Here we go. Keep going. Oh, there's a dog ball right there. Okay. There's still some in there. We gotta go back in there. Oh, it's deteriorating in front of our own eyes. I'll put you back up here by the road. Let's fix this a little bit. Okay, this isn't gonna take long. All clear. Going good. Ooh, that light is burning hot. Here's what the inside of the pipe looked like before. Or let me show you with the light. Here's what the inside of the pipe looked like before. And here's what it looks like now. We're all clear and raging. I'm sore now. That was a backbreaker. Here's what it looked like before. And here's what it looks like now. We got a good amount of debris out of there. Look at all these beaver sticks. If someone comes out here, they're gonna have all kinds of dry wood if they want to go camping out here. This one always puts you out of breath, especially when you have to move it twice. There's such an undertow now. Look at that. Here's what the entrance looked like before. And here's what it looks like now. Pretty big difference. Look inside. Here's what it looked like before. And here's what it looks like now. Flowing nicely. Lots of debris getting stirred up, and look at that water beetle zoom away. I'm filthy, look. All over the shirt, all over up here, all over my arms, all over my face. The beavers set up a nasty one for us there. Water's already running crystal clear. By the end of the day, it'll barely be trickling in that pipe. You saw there was barely anything going through it. There's not much feeding this pond. Drawdown purposes right now. It'll take them weeks to get it back up to that current. And they can't even attempt to clog up this massive amount of flow. They can't anchor a dam like that. They have to start when it slows down to get it going again. Years ago, they were a huge problem here. It's probably been like 4 years. They caused this entire road to wash out because there was a massive flood and the culvert was blocked. There's still sand all over down this hill into the woods from the road washing out. They have fixed it. The new beavers don't realize a little bit's getting diverted to that smaller pipe. But that smaller pipe in a big flood wouldn't be able to handle it if we had another situation like that. But it's why we got to keep this thing open. And they've got to be relocated again. We're probably going to hang up... Yep, I got blue ribbon on me. We're going to hang up blue ribbon so they know there's a beaver problem. But that should be obvious when you have a big pile of sticks above capacity water. But sometimes you get one of those employees that's like, well, it's not marked, so I don't actually have to do anything. I'm only supposed to be going out looking for problems that are marked for me to fix. It's not my job to go inspecting and fix it. Yep, there's people like that in the world, so we got a market for them, even though it's severely obvious. All right, we're all done with this one. Off to do more inspections on this section of roadway. I don't expect to find any washouts. It's been an easy year. Haven't had much flooding this year. Just typical issues. No new surprises, really. Hey, it just started misting out. I love that. I love weather like this where you get just a slight mist. It's nice. We just stopped at this stream. I've never stopped at this one before. Taking a look at the pipe. We gotta hang up some orange ribbon because we got a hazard right here. Being careful where I'm walking. That's an embankment issue. You see how there's no drainage ditch right here? Water was traveling here. It got down behind the retaining wall. That's all that is. That's not the pipe. Do we have a second pipe? What do we got right here? Yep, we got a second pipe. No blockage. Operable. No problem there, but we gotta hang up a ribbon just so someone doesn't get hurt on that. If you can't tell, that's like a 4-foot deep hole down in there. It's a big hole. Maybe that'll stop someone from accidentally hitting that. On this section of road, I love showing active groundwater. There's no culvert. Look at that. There's not even water flowing in the pipe right there. But yet, we have crystal clear water coming up out of a random hole in the ground. And look, it's all soft right here. If I pulled over, I could get stuck on that. I was under the impression that the ground was completely thawed. We haven't had a day below freezing in weeks in this area. Up north, I could probably still find snow, and the trees are still just starting to bud up there. But now they have like maybe a third of their leaves. I don't think that this is melting frost heave. I think that's a spring, active groundwater. And look, it's been warm out. We had a really warm week. Look at all that great, bright green algae growing in there. It's kind of pretty. It's almost radioactive looking. Radioactive things aren't actually green. That's just a myth created by The Simpsons. But look at all this water coming down here. We have an old friend up here. All right, my truck's off enough. They're not running log trucks yet. The roads are still considered too soft. That's not gonna happen until June. So right here is a culvert that I had major problems with, and I still have major problems with whoever installed it. I'm gonna show you why. Look at all this. This looks like there should be a culvert pipe here. Or is that just a spring coming out of the ground again? Because I don't know, there might be a pipe buried way under there, but right here is an issue I showed in videos about 2 years back. They had an old metal pipe, which they threw up there. There's no problem with that. The protective galvanization's been worn down from years of great service. Now it can rust into the environment with no impact. Rust is fine, iron is abundant everywhere. They decided it was smart to put a plastic pipe in during mud season. Got crushed within a couple of days by heavy log trucks. Then they go ahead and replace it again. A month later, it gets crushed. 2 pipes completely destroyed. And there they lie to become microplastics forever, never to be taken out of the wilderness. Great logging company. Those things are almost the same price as metal, but yet they had to go through 3 sets to get it right. And this one will probably get crushed. Remember, 50% of them out on the dirt roads get crushed in the first 2 years. Is it oval yet? Oh, yep. Frost heaving has already messed it up. Look at that. It's got a high spot. Yeah, it's already twisted and getting destroyed. Here we go. We got a 3rd pipe starting to fail. When if they would have spent 1/3 of the price, they could have put a metal one in and had 30 years of service instead of 3 pipes down the drain in 2 years. Ridiculous. I'm so glad that most of these companies have started listening to me and they don't order those things anymore, because I've submitted so much evidence. But this current logging company, the one whose property we're on, we're not going to say who it is. These are shared logging roads. So each company will maintain each other's roads to keep it open depending who's working in the area at the time. But this is ridiculous. That company that owns this pipe has failed to ever respond. Here we go again, everyone, with the same company that fails to respond. So, all those ribbons there are mine. We hung those up in the fall. We have marked it last year. We've marked it 2 years ago, and maybe even beyond that. They refuse to fix this rusted out metal pipe with holes in it. There is a sinkhole here every single major storm. And there's been ones where there's a cavity along the pipe so big you can't get by it. And it's been down sometimes 4 feet deep. This pipe is completely rusted out. There's sinkholes. It's a risk even driving over. You got to go over it fast. You see, my ribbon's even starting to fade. That was last fall. Should I put even more up? I'm going to put a rock right there, tie it around it, and send one up to the tree at the very least. These roads are open to the public at your own risk. So if a sinkhole does open up, it is on you. But because this has been marked so many times, you could probably argue there's a hazard that they knew about. And if you fell into it, you know. This has been a severe hazard for 3 years and they keep band-aiding it. So literally they have a sinkhole, they just keep smoothing over the top, but they leave what's causing it underneath. That is so dangerous. Maybe one of these days they'll break an axle on one of their super expensive log trucks and finally fix it. All right, who wants to bet that's gonna just be patched when we come back out here in another month? Bet you it's just gonna be patched, leaving a potential underground hazard for anyone driving by. Now, what makes this situation even worse, this isn't a logging road that leads into the middle of nowhere just to log. All the logging roads are open to tourists at your own risk, but this is an undergoing hazard. This isn't just something that you take the risk. This is a hidden hazard that they've known about for a very long time and they've put band-aids on. But to make it worse, there are private houses out here, lots of summer camps,
places that people both lease and own that have to use this road, and they have to put up with stuff like this. You see how this section of road they used really, really big gravel? That's because this section of road oftentimes floods, so they put bigger rocks so it doesn't erode. It can flood, it can dry up, no damage. So what operator, I don't know what kind of machine they keep filling that sinkhole in, but I keep thinking about it in my head. Who keeps filling it back in with sand, knowing it's just going to keep eroding? Are they doing that? Are they jeopardizing people's safety just for job security? I don't think so. Most of these employees are paid regardless if there's issues or not. They're always on call, and they're always out there doing something. So why doesn't this person dig down to the hole in the pipe, at the very least fill it back in with bigger riprap rock, which is typically between 6 and 10 inches, bigger rocks that can't erode during a flood, then smooth the top out with gravel. The definition of gravel is usually 3/4 inch stone mixed with sand. Rock, you would just call that stone. So I don't know why they don't just smooth that over, make it nice and smooth, and at the very least use the proper fill underneath it. Honestly, that pipe should have been replaced a decade ago, completely. But they keep band-aiding it, and it really makes me wonder how somebody can keep on doing that, and who owns that road and keeps allowing somebody to keep doing that. I don't really know. But, you know, these days, when you hire someone, you gotta really make sure they know what they're doing, because these days, a college degree or even a high school diploma doesn't mean anything, because someone takes a picture of their paper, AI will fill it out for you. You can't even check for plagiarism because AI makes it different every single time. It creates that stuff. It's not just finding answers on the internet and putting them on a paper for a report. It's making them unique, so teachers cannot find that stuff. So you need to make sure when you hire an inspector that they actually know what they're doing. A piece of paper does not mean anything. You passed classes. How do we know you actually know that stuff in this day and age? Because I encounter some of these people like this sometimes. They know less with a degree than somebody who actually has the field experience. And it's absolutely ridiculous, the sort of hazards that are out here. You know, I've only been out of high school for like 5 or 6 years, and even when I was in school, kids had apps, even back then. It's really, really big and becoming a massive problem now. But even back then, there'd be kids, they'd take a picture of their paper, the app would fill it out for them, and then they'd write those answers on their paper. Even in front of the teacher just didn't catch them slightly under their desk looking at a phone or doing that stuff. So that's really a big problem. So the next generation, there's going to be a lot of stupid people, so you better watch out. This big hole right here is a hazard we're going to mark right now. I drove up this road, I drove back, and I didn't even see that until the time coming back. So, gotta mark it. I think it's just another retaining wall issue. Now that is something that can be easily filled back in, if it's not caused by the pipe. Oh wow, this is one of those awesome tank pipes. Wow. Yeah, you can even see where they took like a grinder and they cut the end of the tank off. That's an old fuel tank. And for it to be riveted together, you know that thing's really, really old. And see how there's no little trees? It's a grassy valley. Beavers used to be a problem here, but it's been a couple of years for that grass to grow back. And it's only been a couple. If it was like 5, you'd see all the willow trees taking over. All right, let's mark this hazard and keep on going. Pretty good. And it's not even windy, and I like how it's flicking back and forth. Makes you see it a lot better from a distance. Yeah, we got a tire cutter. There's a little bit of water, looks like it's trickling through it, but don't want to accidentally pull over in the middle of the night and get that through your wheel. That'll go right through. Yep, a little bit is going through. But that sharp metal, that'll go right through a regular city tire. My heavy off-road tires probably would resist that, but we gotta mark it. There we go. Nice and noticeable. And you do see the rut. It looks like someone did pull over that. This area smells like manure. We must have a lot of moose hanging out. Not necessarily a tire cutter, but failed miserably. Looks like an excavator probably crumpled the end of it. Could be lifted up by frost heave, but the crumpling is not ice. It's got a little bit of water going through it. But we gotta hang up ribbons. This location is visible enough, we don't need to do a sideways ribbon. All right, we're stepping out. Whoever marked this knows what they're doing. They know what's up. So let's see what the problem is. This one's washed out in the past. Plastic pipe. Good condition. That's good for a change. I've never seen anyone else use yellow tape. I used it once because it was the cheapest stuff available at the time. It was on the discount shelf. But orange is the standard color, and this is kind of fading already. So this might be old. It might be a previous season issue, and that's another tank culvert. Those are indestructible. Those things are so thick. You know, these days you buy a fuel tank above ground, it has like a 30-year life expectancy. These things operated probably 50 plus years, and when they were put out of service, it's because of new regulations. But those things would have stayed in service 100 years. The same thing with a heating oil tank in a house. There's ones from the 1930s still in people's basements. They're still there. New regulation says you're supposed to change them every 20 years. The new tanks will literally rust through shortly after 20 years if you don't. But those old tanks are indestructible. Unfortunately, if you do have one, they're probably getting there. You probably should replace it anyways. But the old tanks were so thick. The new ones are so thin. And how does something that's containing oil or fuel rust out? Oil is lighter than water. Moisture condensation builds up. There'll be a little bit. Eventually, you'll have an inch or a couple of inches at the bottom of pure water. It will rust right through it. Look at those beautiful flowers. All right. No issue here. This looks like a last year issue, and the flags just haven't been taken down. And I'm not going to take them down because this is the same logging company that doesn't respond and don't have a relationship with them. So I'm not going to take it into my own hands to take down warnings. All right. We had a little bit of a cell phone service, so I just went back and looked. I'm the one who put I'm the one who put the orange ribbon up right there. That was my doing. I didn't put the yellow ribbon. I've never used that shade of yellow. Someone added that, but that's my doing. I didn't jam the stick in the ground. I had it triangularly angled towards the ground with a rock. Somebody disconnected it and put the stick there. Someone modified that. But that is my tape from last year. When the road was washed out, I flagged that. Speaking of washouts, this was a major washout last year. Did they fix it yet? No, they did not. I'll show you out my side window. Take a look at this. But I think they're about to fix it because there's some fill right here. Put it in neutral. Let's take a look. I had a video of us walking up there last year. All of this right here was caused by a clogged culvert. At the top of this hill, there's a stream going under the road through a culvert. The culvert got plugged, sending everything down the drainage ditch, which was non-existent at the time. Years of grading the road had created basically a curb, preventing any of the water from actually entering the ditch. Not that it would have mattered. The ditch was pretty much filled in at that point, completely washing out the road. Even if the culvert wasn't clogged, it is very under capacity for this massive flood. Yeah, we walked up there last year, and I do not think they're going to fix it because that's not a main artery. I think this pile of fill right here is to fix a little bit of the edge. We're on a main artery though. And see this exact bridge right here? This bridge had structural damage last year. It looks like it's flat again. They fixed it. This bridge has washed out multiple times in the past couple of years. Not this spring though. This right here is where we drove across the water. We drove down here in that riverbed and back up the other side. Unfortunately, they modified the riverbank, so if this ever washes out again, we wouldn't have that option anymore. I'm not sure if they modified the riverbank to try to angle it more towards the bridge during a flood, or to stop the off-road enthusiasts from going through it with their ATVs and Jeeps. Not sure. Maybe a little bit of both. We got ourselves another one that needs flagging. Not sure if it's the excavator, but this one here I'm gonna bet you was frost. I bet you there was water in here. As it expanded, it lifted up the end of the pipe. I don't think that was the excavator. We got a spider friend. Look at that. Hey, it kind of looks like a smiley face. I love puddle time. We always drive through this puddle. Not that deep today. Usually it's much deeper. That puddle usually has a surface area that's much, much bigger than that too. They're opening up a new gravel pit. That's what this is. We're about to take another road where there's sometimes an issue. Even though we're not on a main road, I don't really like being around this corner. But it's bumpy enough, I don't think anyone's gonna go super fast. But we've had issues here in the past, and it's a bit concerning that the trees are cut down. But I do see saw marks. Somebody may have just been making a beautiful view, because there are a couple seasonal camps on this. It is a beautiful view. We've seen this water level almost up to the road. We're not seeing anything elevated, so we're not concerned right now. There once was a time this was 3 feet deeper. This water was receding way back in there. That is a very, very beautiful view. Beavers haven't been here in 3 years. They were relocated. And there's the pipe. Let's take a look at it. Did somebody steal the grate? There's usually a piece of metal decking like you find on a ship or industrial staircases, that kind of thing. It's gone. It didn't fall over. I don't see it. This is bogs. One time we had to send a bog through there. It got plugged against the grate, jammed at it, and boom, all over the other side. So everything you're seeing here is bogs. How do bogs form? Well, I actually have a little bog forming in my frog pond on a tiny level. So what happens is you get this thick algae. Like you see that thick algae right there? It starts off with thick algae. Seeds fall into that. You get little seedlings coming up for grass. And this grass is all floating. It's floating on obnoxious gases from the swamp. Pretty cool. And this is actually acting as a buffer for any bigger debris that might come over. Although, unless there's a massive flood, I don't know where the debris would exactly come from. And if there is a massive flood, this bog is going to get stuck in there. Thankfully, this stuff is usually easy to break up, but some of these bogs are actually containing little trees. In extreme cases, a bog can have an entire forest on it. It's like a floating island. And there's some pretty cool videos on YouTube of those. A bog that actually has acreage on it and dry land in the middle that's not swampy will float over and crash into a bridge or something. Crash into docks with boats, causing damage, and people actually have to anchor onto the trees with a bunch of boats and ships and drag it somewhere and anchor the island. Pretty cool. I'm just looking around for the grate, seeing if someone else threw it up here and it got buried in the grass, but I'm thinking someone stole it out here in the middle of nowhere. Someone may have stole it. Usually in the middle of nowhere,
you don't have too much theft, but I guess that's because there's not many people around, so it's not as concentrated. The most typical thing out on these roads is signs disappearing, especially if it's named after somebody. Someone will steal it just to put in their house if they have the same name. But yeah, that grate's not there, or it's hiding. I can't find it. So I just turned around in one of the driveways of one of the seasonal camps. I just had to get out at this location. We unclogged this one a few times last year. This drainage ditch was backed up, and it was absolutely a ridiculous situation by the beavers. So just like at the beginning of the video, the beavers were doing something similar here. If you happen to hear that nice noise in the background, that's not a bird, that's a gray tree frog. There's a school of fish. So this was a pretty bad one. We unclogged a couple of times last year. The beavers had this plugged, but it wasn't going across the road. It was going across that little side road, down the road to another culvert pipe. They were losing all their water. But yet the pond they lived at was under capacity. They didn't think that one through. But someone marked it for the excavator. The excavator got it, and I'm pretty sure the trapper got him too. And someone even went down there, I think they may have dismantled their beaver dam down there to get it away from the road. We got that massive pile of debris put there by the excavator. You got one of those ribbon efficient employees that you can't even notice when you drive by. I've mentioned that in videos before. When I mark things that's not a safety concern exactly, but when I mark things for safety, I want that to be extremely noticeable from a breakable distance. So we got over here where the pipe comes out. That's a pretty new pipe. Thankfully they used a metal one there instead of plastic. We have some Fisher cat tracks, is what I believe that just was, walking back here into the swamp. I want to walk back here into the swamp, and I want to see the beaver lodge, since we're able to get up close to it now that they've been relocated or maybe hunted off. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing in this area. Ooh, stinky gas bubbles. The same kind of stuff is floating up on. Now those look like raccoon tracks. It may not be Fisher cat. They looked bigger back there, but ooh, look at the bubbles. You put a lighter up to that, you can sometimes get fire out of there. That's the most stinky gas bubbles I've ever seen. Just me standing on the sand is squeezing all that out of the ground. Oh, wow. That's where natural gas comes from. So, not a big beaver swamp. We're still releasing obnoxious gases as we walk. Ooh, whoa. We're sinking. We're sinking. We're sinking on this floating mud. All right, maybe not walk through there. This might have been a natural failure from the beavers not being around to maintain it after being relocated. It's all escaping out of that hole, and I don't think that's human caused. But here's the lodge that was active last season. And look how far back the beaver pond goes. Way, way back there. So it's probably a solid acre, the surface area. Wasn't very deep. Somebody was walking through here. Those are human tracks. So will it hold me if I go over there? Don't trust the sandy bottom because there's mud under it. All that sand has eroded from right up there, giving you false bottom. So what do you think? Someone will tell me. I'm thinking those are raccoon tracks going through here. But someone went walking through here, exploring the same swamp. Those tracks have been rained on, so it's been a few days since that person's been out here. Here's the lodge. It's got newer material from last year, but it's also got grass growth. Yeah, they were here a while. I remember unblocking that quite a few years in a row. And look at that substantial tree they got to take down. There's been numerous times that beavers have actually blocked roads. I've had to hook up to the tree and drag it out. Look, natural swamp gases. No, I mean natural oils along with the swamp gases. That's just from things rotting in the ground. That's how oil and gasoline are created. Rotting plants underground. It's all natural. No one spilled anything. It's what all that is coming out of the ground. All related. Stinky gas. Look at this place. Look at all the spots you see they beaver chewed. And there's still a lot of food supply in here if they were still around. But the vast majority of what they had, I don't know if I can walk through this or not. I want to get over there. I want to look at that. That looks like mint. And I want to smell it if it is mint. So, let's take a walk around. Everyone seems to like when I do swamp tours like this. I didn't do a swamp tour of that unclogging at the beginning of the video because we've gone in there like half a dozen times last year. Moose tracks, but we've never been in this swamp. And deer tracks, and that same person's human tracks. Look at that spiky thing. Kind of reminds me of a sea urchin, but it's just a clump of grass that's dead. Down here still has a good amount of water, and that swamp might go further than I realized. We're getting some deer flies around me right now. That's not very pleasant. Is that mint? No, it's not. And I don't think exactly what I was zooming into is mint either. It is! That is mint! And it's not just mint. That is chocolate mint. Look it up. I'm not joking. Most people I tell chocolate mint to think I'm joking or it's something I saw in a cartoon. It's not. It's an actual plant that literally smells like chocolate mint. It smells like one of those York peppermint patties when you rub it. You can infuse that into tea. Smells amazing. They typically sell it at any garden store. Oh, wow, look at it all. Yeah, that stuff can get pretty invasive, but in the woods, it needs a lot of sun. It'll die in the woods or get shaded out. But this thing has underground runners. It spreads so much. But it's pretty easy to kill. So, you can't use vinegar and stuff on this. It won't kill the roots. But see, this one piece, if you were to spray like Roundup on this one piece, it would go down inside the whole roots and kill out the entire system, but not affect any other plants around it. That's pretty interesting as far as if you ever had to get rid of it, which I had to get rid of it in a garden. Wow, I am actually surprised. This beaver dam is like 5 feet tall, but it's just so silted up. There's so much silt. There's got to be 3-4 feet of silt in here. Could this be angry beaver tracks? Maybe from another beaver development coming up here exploring. Maybe getting ready to take this over since the other guys are gone. That lodge isn't active right now. But here's where everything's getting out. Listen, it even sounds like it's running through a pipe. And look, it's not just coming out the other side. We got it going in here. It's going completely underground. Comes out right there. So it's got like a 20-foot underground section. That's kind of cool. New beaver comes through, and again, that's probably raccoons, because I think if a beaver came up here investigating, they wouldn't have been able to resist. They would have pushed mud in there. They would have had that blocked in under a half hour, to be honest with you, if that was beavers. And it looks like there's even another level. Look, there's another beaver pond down there. See how that area all looks dried up? I wonder how that dam failed. Want to take a walk down there? So these beavers actually had a pretty good complex, but yet they messed with the road and got relocated. They messed with the road, which actually meant more water to their home. They didn't think that one through. Oh, spider friend. Get that spider web out of there. Got some water skimmers. Water skimmers are great to have. They kill mosquitoes even when they're not hungry. Okay, here's another beaver dam. Tiny little pond, but they like water storage. They're also great for preventing erosion because they create all these pools, which are great for wildlife. Again, it's somehow eroded right through the dam. And look at this. We've got a hole. I'm like peanut butter. I'm stuck in it. Wow, we have a whole nother beaver swamp. And this one's actually holding water a little bit. See the dam down there? Pretty big complex. And we got mint everywhere. Smells awesome. Just traipsing through it. This whole area smells delicious now. Wow. I didn't think we were going to be out here that long. It's okay, there's no one around. I left the truck running. Oh my gosh. There's a whole another beaver dam. Beaver lodge that's like multiple times bigger. This is treacherous to walk through. There's a lot of flies buzzing around me and they're biting me. So we're not going to try to linger too much. We'll just zoom in from this vantage point. Very under capacity. The dam's not being maintained and it sprung a leak. Beavers spend most of their life building and maintaining dams, and when they're gone, some can actually hold water indefinitely. Some can't. But that is a big lodge. I don't know if you can tell size. That is as big as the truck. That is big. And it's abandoned. Is that a mockingbird? No, I don't think it is. But it's prime real estate. Another beaver finds this. They will reactivate old beaver swamps. Now, I always tell you how beavers don't like to reuse material. They will fix abandoned dams. The same way they like to clog culvert pipes. There's one main reason that they like to clog culvert pipes. It's easy, it's a bottleneck. Beavers typically start building dams at bottlenecks and narrow areas because it's easier. And I think it's easier right now to walk through the woods right now to get back to the road instead of walking back through the swamp. So we're just gonna walk here through the woods. I haven't found ticks on myself at all traipsing through all this stuff this spring. Ticks are usually most active in the spring. When you have a healthy environment, ticks usually aren't that big of a problem, especially when you have turkeys, grouse birds around. They eat them. I had a few ticks in my house this year. Not that bad. Like 4 years ago, I had so many ticks. You walk out in the yard with white socks, have a couple dozen of them on you in a couple minutes. Then one day, a miracle happened. A flock of turkeys hung out in the yard for about a day. Never saw one again. And we're going to encourage the turkeys to take care of them again this year. Put dry corn all over the yard. All they got to do is make a good pass, and you'll never see them again. All right, we're back out to the road. Let's move on. That was interesting. The logging company beat us to it. For anyone who remembers, in the middle of winter, we went down this road. It must have been like 30 below. It was such a absolutely freezing cold day. But I noticed elevated water levels over here. It's the beaver's favorite type of tree, willow. Notice how there's no leaves growing down there anywhere below 5 feet. It was absolutely flooded. It's our first time coming down this road in the warmer weather. The logging company got to it, obviously, because look, there's heavy equipment tracks. It didn't just wash out.
We even walked out there on the frozen pond. The water was way up here. I shouldn't be saying 5 feet. That's probably more like 8 or 9 feet. I didn't realize how extremely big this was. Oh, look, another piece of a moose. I never find stuff like that, but today I found that skull, which is absolutely disgusting, and I'm kind of regretting it. And there's also that down there. Too big to be a deer. That's another piece of a moose. And we're nowhere near the other one where I found that. Look at this. I don't know if you can see. That is an incredibly big pipe. That's literally big enough to drive a sedan through. It's a very, very big culvert. The logging company left some of the beaver dam foundation. Maybe the excavator didn't have that reach, but it's gone. And there's zero effort by the beavers to rebuild. They must have been relocated, just like that last swamp, which is only 10 minutes down the road. Makes sense. And before the beavers got it to this extent, they actually make these little canals and stuff. Beavers, before they flood the whole area, they'll excavate canals into the woods where they can float sticks back. A lot of things, they can't lift it. They rely on the water to float it. And they'll even work together to lift it up onto the dam. Muskrats will even help the beavers. But most of it's gone. And maybe this dam being slightly there helps slow the water down. Helps with erosion. I don't remember if this pipe was in extremely good shape or not. And that's kind of scary right there for anyone wanting to venture into the culvert. It is kind of big. Does that move? Yes, that is scary. That actually budges with my foot. Let's knock it down. It's a hazard anyways. Ooh, here we go. Here we go. Trying to not go down with it. Let's try a different angle. Nope, that was a better angle I had over here, I guess. That thing weighs more than me, honestly. Can't do it. But you know I'm going to put an orange ribbon around that thing. Let's see if I can grab this tree a little bit for more leverage. I'm putting as much strength as I can into that thing. Look, it's like a tooth. It's got that one little root of it holding it into the ground. Bet you if we had a way to a little bit there, I would come right on out of there. Let's try it again. Let's sit over here again. I don't know. I think definitely weighs probably twice or more what I weigh. It's big. And my butt's dirty. Scary thinking about that rock, to be honest, because I would have walked into this pipe back in the winter if it wasn't for the ice not being stable down here below. Look, there's still a good amount of beaver dam here. The pipe's in good shape. Usually they'd want to put a bridge in here. I've seen situations like this. It can easily get underneath that. You don't see them installing these things these days. They usually would put a bridge. A timber bridge is probably even cheaper than this thing. These are very expensive. But that dam was almost up to the top not too long ago.
That rock gives me a bad feeling for anyone who might be playing down here. I don't like leaving that there. And look at the erosion over there. Some of those other rocks aren't looking too bright either. All right, everyone. An older guy just stopped and talked to me, and he owns a camp out here, and he was telling me, I didn't even mention the moose jaw to him, but he said, driving out here in the winter time, there was just a dead moose out here on the ice. And when he said that, I was like, yeah, there's still a jaw down there. And he pulled over and he was like, do you know what the heck is going on right here? Could you explain this to me? Because he sees me here with the marking ribbon and stuff. And I tell him, biggest beaver dam inside a culvert pipe I've ever seen is down there. Told him below him is like a 10-foot diameter culvert pipe. Completely blocked just about in the winter. And I asked him about the moose. I was asking him, did it fall off here and die? Did it fall through the ice? And he was like, I don't really know. It was just there dead a couple months ago. Well, I was out here trying to poke at this a little bit. Just trying to get it to get out of here, but we're going to have to just wrap a ribbon around that thing. I don't like leaving hazards like that. I always try to improve them a little bit. Maybe we can push here from a safe distance. I don't like being near the edge like when I was just pushing there. If I try to... I can barely move it. It budged a lot at first. It was promising, but now... yeah, that's not budging. Too much of a risk. We're just going to flag it. I have seen dangerous rocks in the past, but nothing like that. And I do know sometimes children will play in these creeks, especially it being near summer camps and stuff. I know I did that as a kid. We'd go to campgrounds out in the middle of the woods like this. I'd wander off myself, play inside culvert pipes, play in these creek beds. And that just worries me, that rock being there. Wish I had my orange paint on me today. I'd mark that thing. That's about all I can do right now. And I got a bunch of flies following me. See all the... look at that. They're black flies. They're not biting me. They're landing all over me. They do bite. I can confirm they do bite. A lot of people tell me they get bit by them, but this is the first year that I've actually got bit. Right now, they're not biting me. Not at all. But I did have an incident in the video where I was loading up rocks in the back of the truck. They were biting me like crazy. Like right now, they're landing on me. They're not doing anything. The bug spray has already worn off. Not that it was doing anything. It didn't do anything for them. Oh, never mind. They're biting me. We've unclogged this one in the past, and I see debris. It's been going over the road. Is it beavers? Is the pipe actually damaged, or can it still be covered up and saved? These metal pipes don't crush as easily. Let's get down and have a look. We got a spider friend. What's wrong in there? Kind of dark in there to see. I can't tell if that's a blockage or a collapse. Maybe we can see from the other end a little better. I know we unclogged this one a while back, drained a good amount of water. That is the better thing about these metal pipes. Ooh, we got tadpoles. These metal pipes can take some abuse even when they're not buried deep. What do we got? Look, beaver related? Yep, that's a beaver stick. Look at that. And it's right in the middle of the pipe. Okay, so this thing can likely be saved. It might not necessarily be collapsed. It just needs to be cleaned out. Look what we got here. Some bad erosion. Do we got a culvert pipe down in there? Yep, I can hear it and I can see the edge of the metal. Probably plugged. You gotta add some better ribbons than that. You're not gonna see that once these leaves start growing a little better, and it looks a bit faded, like that's last season and they didn't touch it.
Okay, I'm seeing the edge of the pipe right there. Yeah, that is severely rusted right on through. So I'm guessing collapsing is... I don't see a blockage on the end. This is not the kind of spot a beaver would be building. It's so severely rusted. It had a good service life and now it needs to be replaced. Hopefully not with a plastic one that'll last a month. But it's collapsed. We're gonna hang up some ribbons. Let me go get the ribbons. I didn't actually expect it to be failed. All right, we put an orange ribbon there, kind of marking that big hole. Keep people away from that. Today was supposed to be a rainy day, but that's no excuse. I should have the spray paint on me. I should have the orange spray paint on me. We got another really bad tire cutter right here. You can see the amount of traffic to make it shiny. I want to put some orange ribbon up. That's not adequate at all, especially when those leaves start growing. All right, I jam that stick in there. Make it a little bit more noticeable for people. All right, we got a location here. We're gonna write down the coordinates of this and we're gonna report this section of road to the Department of Natural Resources. So in the woods of Maine, I have never actually seen this before. And this stuff will love to take over the swamps. It's called Japanese knotweed, and it will absolutely engulf the areas with sitting water like beaver swamps. This stuff, when it's tiny, supposedly you can break off pieces and cook it like asparagus. But this stuff is extremely invasive. It will take over the entire forest floor, blocking out sunlight from any seedlings. And once the mature trees die, then you're gonna have nothing growing but this. And when it dies in the winter, it dies back to the ground. It doesn't continue growing like bamboo, even though it looks like bamboo. It creates this, just like the plant kudzu. Massive forest fires when that stuff happens. But the state does have chemicals that will kill this. Store-bought stuff like Roundup will not kill this. It'll kill it to the ground and it'll start growing again. So, if you see this stuff in the middle of the woods and it's isolated, it can be stopped. It needs to be reported. What do we got here? That's kind of weird. Bunch of scarecrows. And just hope we create enough current to get this stuff out.